In the late 19th century, Detroit was a city on the brink of transformation, industrial, restless, and hungry for identity. Baseball arrived not as a pastime, but as a promise. The Detroit Tigers were born in the Western League in 1894, wearing the city's name proudly before it joined the American League in 1901. From the beginning, the Tigers were more than a team. They were a reflection of Detroit itself, gritty, determined, and unyielding. Era 1. The Ty Cobb years, 1905 to 1926. At the dawn of the 20th century, baseball found one of its most polarizing figures. Ty Cobb was relentless, brilliant, and feared. He played the game with unmatched intensity, redefining what it meant to compete. Under his influence, the Tigers surged to dominance, capturing 3 consecutive American League pennants from 1907 to 1909. But October heartbreak followed. Detroit fell short in all 3 World Series appearances, including a loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the inaugural Fall Classic. Cobb's legacy remains complicated, his numbers untouchable, his personality controversial. Yet his era cemented Detroit as a baseball power and gave the franchise its first true legend. Era 2. Champions emerge. The Greenberg years, 1930 to 1946. The Great Depression gripped the nation, but baseball offered escape, and in Detroit, hope wore number 5. Hank Greenberg emerged as one of the game's greatest sluggers and one of its most significant figures. As one of the first Jewish superstars in American sports, Greenberg carried immense cultural weight. In 1935, the Tigers captured their first World Series championship, defeating the Chicago Cubs in 7 games. It was a triumph for the city and for a team that had waited decades for validation. Greenberg left to serve in World War II at the height of his career, embodying sacrifice beyond the diamond. He returned to help deliver another championship in 1945, sealing Detroit's place among baseball's elite. Era 3. Stability and stars, 1947 to 1967. Post-war America boomed, and the Tigers remained steady contenders. Stars like Al Kaline, known as Mr. Tiger, defined consistency and class. Kaline debuted at just 18 years old and spent his entire career in Detroit. He wasn't flashy, but he was dependable, respected, and fiercely loyal. Though championships were elusive in this era, the Tigers became synonymous with professionalism. They were never far from contention, always waiting for the moment when preparation would meet opportunity. Era 4. The summer of 1968. In a year of upheaval across America, baseball became a source of unity, and Detroit stood at its center. Led by pitching phenom Denny McLain, who won an astonishing 31 games, the Tigers surged through the season. They faced the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series, trailing 3-1. Then, everything changed. Detroit roared back with grit and power, winning 3 straight games and capturing their 3rd World Series title. The victory parades filled the streets, and for a city in turmoil, the Tigers offered joy, pride, and relief. 1968 would be remembered not just as a championship, but as a cultural moment. Era V. The spark of 84, 1979 to 1988. The 1980s arrived with new swagger and a team built to dominate. The 1984 Tigers opened the season 35-5, one of the greatest starts in baseball history. Led by manager Sparky Anderson and anchored by stars like Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, and Kirk Gibson, Detroit was unstoppable. They crushed the San Diego Padres in the World Series, reclaiming glory with authority. It would be the franchise's last championship for now. Era V. Decline and disruption, 1989 to 2005. Success faded. Attendance dropped. Losses mounted. The Tigers endured some of the darkest years in franchise history, including a 119-loss season in 2003, one of the worst ever recorded. Tiger Stadium closed its gates in 1999, marking the end of an era and the loss of a sacred place. Comerica Park opened downtown, symbolizing rebirth, but the results lagged behind the promise. Still, even in struggle, the fan base endured. Era 7, the modern resurgence, 2006 to 2016. Against expectations, the Tigers roared back. In 2006, Detroit reached the World Series for the first time in over 2 decades. The roster soon filled with stars Justin Verlander, Miguel Cabrera, Max Scherzer. Cabrera achieved the impossible in 2012, winning the Triple Crown, the first in 45 years. Despite multiple playoff runs and 2 World Series appearances, a championship remained elusive. The era was brilliant, powerful, and bittersweet. Era 8, Rebuilding and Reflection 2017 present. The stars departed. The rebuild began. Young players arrived, expectations lowered, and patience became the currency of hope. Yet the Tigers continued to invest, not just in wins, but in identity. In Detroit, baseball is never just about the standings. It's about resilience, about waiting through winters for the promise of spring. Epilogue: the stripes remain. More than a century after their birth, the Detroit Tigers still stand. They have known triumph and despair, heroes and heartbreak. Through wars, depressions, championships, and rebuilds, one thing remains constant: the bond between a city and its team. The story of the Detroit Tigers is unfinished. And somewhere, under the lights, the next chapter is already beginning.